Throughout the years, Konami's released a myriad of different skills for a variety of different characters. But the thing is, not every single one of those characters actually ended up getting a fully fledged deck from Konami. And that's really weird because a lot of these characters actually got enough support in order to make them a bona fide strategy. Characters that come to mind include the likes of Bandit Keith, Bond. Hell, even Chumley has enough to make him a deck. So that got me thinking, what would it look like if Konami actually ended up making all these characters a bona fide strategy in speed duels? And that's exactly what we're trying to explore in this series of mine. So essentially the gist of it all is that I'm going to be taking every single character that has a skill in speed duels but doesn't actually have a bona fide strategy actually built in a speed duel box and or a starter deck. And I'm going to try and build a strategy based around what skills they have available to them. But the catch is, the deck that I built for these characters can only include cards included in speed duels. Additionally, it has to make sense with the character in mind. That means that a character like Bandit Keith shouldn't be playing a card like Jinzo in his deck just because it wasn't a card that was like related to him in the anime, if that makes sense. And finally, the deck I built for these characters should also make sense with the skill in mind as well. But now that we have our restrictions set in place, I would like to ask you guys that if you do end up enjoying today's video, then I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way of supporting me and I greatly appreciate it. But enough rambling on my side, let's hop on to Dueling Book now. Alright guys, so welcome back, and for today's video we are going to be covering none other than Chumley himself, and I've just gotta say, Chumley has one of my all-time favorite skills in speed duels. There's just something about the koala slash kangaroo strategy that just, like, it just brings so much joy to me whenever I get to play this strategy. So essentially, Chumley's deck revolves around the skill Chilling Out Back. It's the only skill he ever ended up receiving in speed duels, and I tried building a strategy around the idea of this skill, but the thing is, we don't have all that many koala slash kangaroo cards in speed duel. There's only a handful of them. Unfortunately, they didn't give us every single one available to us. I believe the only one missing is like Kangaroo Champion, something like that. So that was a bit of an issue when constructing his deck, but nevertheless, I think I ended up coming up with something that somewhat fits the vibe of Chumley while still somewhat applying to the deck in hand. Alright, so with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a quick look at what exactly I ended up making for Chumley. Actually, before we do that, we should probably take a look at the skill first and understand what exactly the deck is trying to accomplish. So the skill in question is Chillin' Out Back, which reads, once per turn you can change the one phase of koala and or kangaroo monster battle position. Koala and kangaroo monsters you control can attack while face up in defense position. If they do, apply their defense as for the damage calculations. And yeah, in the simplest terms, koala and kangaroo monsters can attack while in defense mode, and once per turn you can change their battle position. Very, very simple. And super fun. Alright then, so let's take a quick look at the monster lineup for this strategy. Of course, you should have expected this, but we're going to be giving the deck Des Koala, Sea Koala, Big Koala, Vampiric Koala, and Des Kangaroo as the core for the strategy. These are all the applicable names for this skill, and I feel like if you're going to be playing a deck like this, you kind of have to have access to every single one of these in order to have the best chance of playing this strategy. Continuing on, we had to fill in the rest of the monsters with some filler. So for the filler, we have cards like Bazoo the Salt Eater, Des Wombat, Green Baboon, Defender of the Forest, King of the Swamp, and finally, the Trojan Horse. And these cards are here for a few reasons. First, Bazoo the Soul Eater is kind of just here in the deck as an additional body for later on in the duel when your opponents like put you up against a corner. Also, Bazoo kind of fits the idea of a koala. He's like a baboon. He's like, was he like a baboon? So it kind of fits in with like the koala aesthetic. So I figured that he made sense in this deck. Des Wombat, since we have Des Koala, it kind of fits. Also, Wombat Koala, close enough. We have Green Baboon, Defender of the Forest. Again, we kind of have like that beast idea going on right now. He kind of just looks like an enormous koala, I guess. So that's why he's here. We have King of the Swamp in order to make the Master of Oz a lot easier to summon. Also, it's one of the best pieces of support for fusion-based strategy, so that's why we have it here. And finally, the Trojan Horse in order to make summoning Green Baboon and or the Koala a bit easier. All these choices seem like they would have made sense in a speed duel-centric deck for Chumley, and I think Konami would have probably made some of these choices if they were to build them a actual strategy in speed duels. Now onto the spell cards. For the spell cards, we have, of course, Polymerization, duh. We have Shield Crush. You'll see more why once you take a look at the other cards I have in the deck. We have Sol and Luna. I love this card. It's such a cool card that Joey ended up getting in Battle City Finals, and it just makes too much sense in this deck as well, especially when you pair it up with a card like Dusk Koala. Spiritual Forest. We have so many beasts in this deck, and being able to protect them once per turn, it's really, really useful. Continuing on, we have Stray Lambs. I kind of just feel like Chumley would have been the kind of guy that would play cards like Scapegoats and Stray Lambs. Also, they're Beast Earth monsters. Kind of fits the vibe. Onto the trap cards now, we have Shield Spear. We need to boost up that defense. Also, I love the fact that Shield Spear works both defensively and offensively because it boosts both attack and defense, and I like the fact that it activates during the battle phase, so really nice card overall. Spike Shield with Chain. This is one of the best cards this deck has access to, just because of the unique way this deck attacks, be able to attack in defensive mode. And Spike Shield with Chain just feels like it was built for Chumley. Phenomenal card. Super Rush Recklessly. We have so many beast monsters in the deck. We need some form of removal for our opponent. Makes too much sense for me. We have Inverse Universe. Really cool card overall, just because we focus so much on our defensive stats that being able to like switch our monster from attack to defense mode and or like be able to modulate that at any point during a duel is too cool for me to pass up on. Also, you can use this a lot more aggressively too, activating this on your opponent. Make sure that all their monsters become a lot weaker by switching their attack and defense, and then just after that summoning out one of your own monsters to go ahead and deal with them. I love the application of this card. It fits really, really well in here, and it's just too good not to add in. Finally, we have Zero Gravity, which makes a lot more sense when you take a look at a card like a Shield Crush in this strategy. We have both Sol and Luna and Zero Gravity in order to also mess around with our opponent's play style, forcing their monsters into defense mode and or attack mode depending on what they were originally in. And also, like, if they start playing defensively because they don't want to take any damage from the battle with your own koala monsters, that's where Shield Crush also comes into play. As a whole, I really like the idea that I ended up making for Chumley right here. I'm really happy with the choices that I ended up making. Of course, if you wanted to go ahead and make any changes to this deck, I would suggest adding cards like potentially Swords of Revealing Light. I mean, it's an overused card, but it's an extremely powerful card, especially in this deck where you want to have as much time as possible to go ahead and accumulate as many like spell and trap cards in order to boost up your koalas. Other cards could be great here would be like Quaking Mirror Force potentially. Again, if we want to play a more defensive way of playing the deck. What else works here? Another card that you potentially add in here could be Wall Disruption. However, I feel like that card didn't particularly fit the vibe of Chumley with him being such a chill dude, so I didn't add it in, but it's a great card, especially in this deck, so something worth considering. But yeah, guys, in the comment section below, give me your thoughts. Did you like Chumley's deck? What changes would you have personally made? For me personally, I think I ended up doing a pretty decent job. It fits Chumley as a character, it fits his aesthetic, and overall, I think this looks like a pretty decent and fun strategy to play around with. You know what? I think for the next episode, I might start digging into my bag with some of the other obscure characters in the series. I did see someone suggest me do Albedo. I could potentially do that for the next video. I've also seen people suggest Belowski. I also have a deck for Noah. I ended up making a deck for Taya, believe it or not, and I think I'm almost done with a deck for Tristan also. So in the comment section below, share with me what character you want to see more. I did also see someone suggest that they would like to see me do Mako, but only focusing in on the skills he ended up receiving in the booster packs, and that sounded kind of cool. So that's something I could potentially also end up doing as well. But again, in the comment section below, guys, share all your thoughts. I read all the comments, and I do my best to respond to everyone. So if you comment something, I'm going to end up seeing it. Alright guys, with that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.